Enabling two-factor authentication is becoming a lot more common, but did you know you can do it on your Raspberry Pi? Now, two-factor authentication is an extra layer of protection. As well as something you know, your password, you'll be asked for another piece of information, a second factor, every time you log in. Now, this could be something you have, like a smartphone, or something you are, like biometric information. What we're going to do is go ahead and set up something you have, your smartphone, to help you protect your Raspberry Pi. Afterwards, once you've enabled two-factor authentication, every time you log in remotely via SSH, you'll be prompted for a verification code, as well as your password. You're going to need a smartphone, your laptop, and of course your Raspberry Pi. But before we do that, we're going to make sure that you're running the latest version of the operating system. Upgrading your operating system is the simplest thing you can do to keep your Raspberry Pi secure, and you should do it frequently. And if you're running a relatively recent version of the operating system, you can do it from the command line. Just go ahead and open up a terminal and type sudo apt-get update, sudo apt-get full upgrade. And depending how long it's been since you've done this before, it could take a fair while to upgrade. Don't worry about it, go have a cup of coffee, it's going to be well worth your time. The Raspberry Pi operating system has an SSH server disabled on boot, so we need to enable it if we want to SSH into our Raspberry Pi. And the easiest way to do that is to go to the desktop menu. So go up to the Raspberry Pi icon, go down to Preferences and Raspberry Pi Configuration. Then go to Interfaces and just click to enable SSH and hit OK. Next, we need to tell the SSH daemon to enable challenge response passwords. So go ahead and open the SSH config file. Sudo nano etc ssh sshd config. So we need to change the challenge response authentication from the default no to yes. So just scroll down until you reach challenge response authentication and change that to yes, and hit Ctrl X and Y to save. And then we need to restart the SSH daemon. So sudo system control restart SSH. It's a good idea to open up a terminal on your laptop right now and make sure you can still SSH into your Raspberry Pi at this point. Although you won't be prompted for the two-factor authentication code quite yet, it's sensible to check that everything still works at this stage. So the first thing you need to do to install two-factor authentication is to download an app to your phone, one that's going to generate the time-based one-time password. One of the most commonly used is Google Authenticator. It's available for Android, iOS and BlackBerry, and there's even an open source version of the app available on GitHub. So just go to the App Store, go ahead and search for Google Authenticator, and then download it onto your phone. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and open it and begin setup. You can see down at the bottom here, we're offered a scan barcode and manual entry. We'll get to that. First, we have to go back to our Raspberry Pi and install the Google Authenticator PAM module. So just go back to your terminal again, and it's sudo apt install lib PAM Google Authenticator. Yes to continue. And now we have two-factor authentication installed on both our phone and our Raspberry Pi. We're ready to get things configured. Go ahead and run the Google Authenticator application from the command line without using sudo, because we're configuring it for our own user account, the Pi user account. So just type Google Authenticator at the command line and hit return. And answer yes to whether you want time-based tokens. You'll see this looks a bit odd, but if we just resize our terminal window, we have a QR code. Don't move forward quite yet. Before you do anything else, you should copy the emergency codes down below the QR code and put them somewhere safe. These codes will let you access the Raspberry Pi and turn off two-factor authentication if you lose your phone. Without them, you won't be able to secure shell into your Raspberry Pi if you lose or break the device you're trying to use to authenticate with. So next, before we continue with Google Authenticator on the Raspberry Pi, we need to set up Google Authenticator on your phone. So go ahead and open the app and hit scan barcode. If this is the first time you're using the app, you will be asked whether to give it permissions to open your camera. You should give those permissions, and then you'll have the ability to scan a barcode. So just point your phone at the screen, center the barcode in the green box, and your phone will read it and then start generating one-time passwords. Your phone will generate a new one-time password every 30 seconds. However, this code isn't going to be all that useful until we finish off what we were doing on the Raspberry Pi. So switch back to your terminal window and answer yes when asked whether Google Authenticator should update your .google authenticator file. Answer yes when asked whether you should disallow multiple uses of the same authentication token. And answer no to increasing the time skew window. And finally, yes to rate limit in order to protect against brute force attacks. We're done here. Now all we have to do is enable two-factor authentication. We're going to go ahead and use the Linux Pluggable Authentication Module, PAM, which provides dynamic authentication support for applications and services to add two-factor authentication to SSH on the Raspberry Pi. So we need to configure PAM to add to FA. So all we need to do is sudo nano /etc pam.d sshd. We're going to need to add the line auth required pam google authenticator.so to the top of this file. You can either do this above or below the line that says @include common auth. Since I prefer to be prompted for my verification code after entering my password, I'm going to add this line after the @include line. If you want to be prompted for the code before entering your password, you should add it before the @include line. So go ahead and type auth required pam google authenticator.so. Then hit Ctrl X to save the file, yes to write the buffer, and hit return. Now all we have to do is restart the SSH daemons. So sudo system control restart SSH. If everything has gone to plan, next time you SSH into your Raspberry Pi, you should be prompted for a verification code after being prompted for your password. So go to your laptop, open a terminal window, and secure shell into your Raspberry Pi. If this is the first time you've SSH'd into the Pi, you'll be prompted to verify the key fingerprint. Just type yes, and you'll be asked for your password. And now you'll also be asked for your verification code. So grab your phone, open your Authenticator app, and type in the verification code. 638331 is what I have. And you've successfully two-factor authenticated to your Raspberry Pi. You'll now need your phone and the one-time password every time you SSH or SCP to and from your Raspberry Pi. But because of that, you've just given yourself a huge boost to the security of your device. And now you have the Authenticator app on your phone, you should think about where else you can use it, like Google or Amazon or other online accounts. Because two-factor authentication is one of the easiest and most effective tools you have at your disposal to protect yourself online.